The northern region of Nigeria has once again been plunged into a state of severe panic and mourning following a highly coordinated and devastating security breach that has struck right at the heart of political power in Adamawa State. In a deeply unsettling turn of events, this late February and early March of 2026, heavily armed non-state actors launched a massive invasion on several rural communities in the Madagali local government area, which is famously known as the hometown of the executive governor of Adamawa State, Gov Fintiri. The sheer scale and audacity of this invasion have sent shockwaves across the entire nation, forcing hundreds of terrified villagers to flee their ancestral homes in the dead of the night to seek refuge in neighboring towns and even the state capital, Yola. According to verified field reports and eyewitness accounts, the attackers arrived in very large numbers, riding on convoys of motorcycles and dressed in military camouflage to confuse the local residents before unleashing a wave of destruction. The primary targets of this nighttime raid were the quiet agrarian villages of Kirchinga and Garaha, where the residents were caught completely off guard. The heavily armed men descended on these communities just as people were settling in for the evening, creating a chaotic scene of survival as families scrambled into the surrounding bushes and mountains to escape the overwhelming firepower. The tragic outcome of this invasion has left a very dark cloud over Adamawa State, with local authorities and community leaders confirming that over 25 innocent lives were lost during the siege. In the village of Kirchinga alone, search and rescue teams have recovered numerous bodies, including that of a highly respected village head who was reportedly a close relative of the state governor. The attackers did not just stop at taking lives, they engaged in massive economic sabotage by setting residential buildings, places of worship, and local businesses entirely on fire. They also looted livestock and essential food supplies, ensuring that the communities would be left in absolute ruin even after the gunfire ceased. This horrific event marks the fifth major assault on Madagali area since October of 2025, highlighting a very dangerous and recurring pattern of violence in a region that borders the notorious Sambisa Forest and the Republic of Cameroon. Because of its remote geographical location, Madagali has always been a highly vulnerable flashpoint, making it very difficult for military reinforcements to arrive in time to repel these lightning-fast raids. The surviving villagers, many of whom have now lost everything they have worked for their entire lives, are currently sheltering in temporary displacement camps, living in constant fear that the attackers might return to finish what they started. As the news of this Adamawa attack dominates the national discourse, it has sparked a wider, very intense conversation about the escalating wave of terror sweeping across northern Nigeria, drawing chilling parallels to the terrifying activities of notorious bandit kingpins in the northwest, most notably the infamous Bello Turji. For years, Bello Turji has been the face of ruthless rural banditry in Zamfara and Sokoto states, running a massive criminal enterprise that has displaced thousands of innocent farmers and disrupted the agricultural economy of the region. The very mention of his name sends shivers down the spines of rural dwellers. Recently, the security space was flooded with massive controversy following the sudden reappearance of Bello Turji in a viral video circulating on social media. In this new broadcast, the bandit leader aggressively denied allegations that he had received vehicles and 30 million naira from the previous Zamfara state government during a highly controversial peace dialogue. He swore that his violent campaign was not driven by financial gain or political sponsorship, openly mocking the authorities and blaming past political leaders for the deep-rooted crisis in the northwest. This sudden re-emergence of Turji in the digital space, coupled with the horrifying physical attacks in the northeast, has created an overwhelming atmosphere of insecurity, making ordinary Nigerians feel like the country is under siege from multiple fronts. The fear is incredibly contagious, and when villagers in Adamawa see their homes burning, they share the exact same pain and displacement as the victims of Bello Turji's ruthless syndicate in Zamfara. This is a very critical moment in our nation's history, and the stories we are dealing with are developing at a very rapid pace. The dynamics of these security challenges change almost every single day, and it is absolutely vital for every concerned citizen to stay deeply informed about the realities on the ground. If you are finding this detailed breakdown informative and you want to continue receiving the most accurate, well-researched and engaging updates on the security situation across Nigeria, please take a quick second to like this video and subscribe to the channel right now. By subscribing and turning on your notification bell, you are supporting our mission to bring the truth to light, and you ensure that you will never miss out on any major developments regarding our national security, the fight against insurgency, and the political responses that shape our daily lives. Your engagement helps us push these important stories to a wider audience, so please hit that subscribe button right now as we dive back into how the government and the military are responding to this massive crisis. The immediate aftermath of the Madagali invasion saw a very swift political response from Governor Gov Fintiri, who was visibly shaken by the destruction of his hometown and the loss of his people. Governor Fintiri quickly mobilized a high-level delegation and personally visited the affected areas, including the Shuwari community, to assess the sheer magnitude of the damage firsthand. Walking through the burnt remains of the villages, he met with the grieving families and the local leaders, offering his deepest condolences and ordering the immediate distribution of emergency relief materials to help the displaced victims survive the coming days. Governor Fintiri was incredibly firm in his public address, taking to social media to completely condemn the attack as a cowardly act of terror against defenseless farmers. He reassured the fleeing residents that the Adamawa State government stands firmly with them and that criminal elements will absolutely not be allowed to destabilize the peace and progress of the state. He announced that the state government is already working in close collaboration with the top echelons of the Nigerian armed forces and other critical security agencies to intensify security operations across all vulnerable border communities, promising that those responsible for this horrific massacre will be tracked down and brought to justice. However, for the deeply traumatized villagers who have had to bury their loved ones and sleep in the open cold, political promises are simply not enough. They are desperately begging for a permanent security presence that will allow them to return to their farms without the paralyzing fear of being ambushed in the dark. The military leadership believes that the recent spike in attacks on soft targets like the rural farming communities in Adamawa is actually a desperate sign of frustration from terror groups who can no longer face the Nigerian military in direct combat. Despite these assurances from the military high command, the humanitarian crisis created by this endless cycle of violence is becoming totally unmanageable. The International Organization for Migration and various humanitarian groups have released very alarming data showing that hundreds of thousands of people are currently displaced across Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe states. These internally displaced persons are living in extremely overcrowded camps with very limited access to clean water, proper health care, and basic sanitation, making them highly vulnerable to outbreaks of diseases. The destruction of local infrastructure, including rural health centers and schools, means that an entire generation of children is being deprived of their fundamental right to education and a safe childhood. Furthermore, the systematic targeting of farmers is creating a massive food security crisis. Agriculture is the absolute backbone of the northern economy, and when farmers are too terrified to plant or harvest their crops, the entire nation feels the impact through skyrocketing food prices in the markets. The tragic events in Madagali are not just local issues, they are a direct threat to the economic stability and the social fabric of the entire country. The residents of Waga Momboro, Kirchinga, and Garaha are hard-working Nigerians who just want to live in peace, yet they find themselves caught in the crossfire of a complex, decades-long conflict that has defied multiple political administrations. As we look toward the future, it is incredibly clear that the government must adopt a much more holistic approach to totally eradicate this menace. Relying solely on kinetic military action has proven to be insufficient in securing the vast ungoverned spaces and dense forests that border our neighboring countries.
Security experts and civil society organizations are strongly advocating for the massive expansion of community-based intelligence networks, arguing that the local people know the terrain better than anyone else and can provide the early warning signals needed to prevent these nighttime massacres. The dramatic story of Bello Turji's rise to power in the northwest and the heartbreaking destruction of Governor Fintiri's hometown in the northeast are two sides of the exact same coin. They represent a massive failure of rural security that must be addressed with total sincerity, massive resource allocation, and an unwavering political will. The days of treating these rural invasions as normal occurrences must come to an absolute end, and the Nigerian state must assert its supreme authority to protect the lives and properties of every single citizen, regardless of how remote their village might be. We will continue to monitor the massive military deployments in Adamawa State and keep our eyes on the unfolding drama surrounding the bandit kingpins in the northwest, bringing you the most verified and comprehensive updates as this massive national story continues to develop.